guys, in this video I'm going to be talking about exporting in Chief Architect. The main exporting menu is found File and Export, and there's all these different options, exporting DWG files, exporting pictures, layer sets, hotkeys, stuff like that. So I'm going to be talking about the most important things in there and then how you want to go about doing that. So the first thing you usually are going to want to export is your floor plan or your landscape plan, which is what we see here in the design view. So if we change this to the working plan view, we could see we have all of our stuff here. So if I wanted to export this, you would position your screen how you want the export to look. So let's say, for example, I don't want to see the road really. So I'm going to set the end of the road at the bottom of the screen, and then it'll show the rest of the property. And I'll go to File, Export, and then I will do export as a picture. So these are the settings for exporting as a picture, and you would use exporting as a picture because it allows anyone to be able to see your floor plan, so they can look at it on phone, computer, whatever. They don't have to have Chief Architect to be able to do it. I'll click cancel. But for example, if you exported the view as a DWG or DXF file, you would have to have a program like Chief Architect or AutoCAD or something to be able to open that file and be able to see it. Another way you could export the floor plan like this is if you go to File, Print, you can print it to a PDF. So if you go into your printers, you can do the Chief Architect Save as PDF, or you may have an option for Adobe PDF. So with either of these, you can see right here, you can save it into a PDF document, which also you can open on many different operating systems. So there's that for the plans. But then if you want to export a camera view, it's a little bit different. So if we have a camera, we can drop one down. Let's just say, for example, right here on the street looking towards the house. So here we have the camera. So let's position it a little bit like this. Um, I'm actually just going to check the backdrop real quick and change it to grassy just to make sure. Okay. Um, so now, how do we export this? Like if we want to have this picture. So you can also, like we did for the last one, we go to File, Export, and we can export a picture, or you can export a 360 panorama. So export pictures obviously just in this one position. 360 panorama would be in all directions. You might use that maybe for like the inside of the house. If you want to like place the camera in the center of the room, then you could do a 360-degree panorama. But for right now, I'm just going to export a picture. I'm going to actually say OK. I'm going to save it on my desktop, and I'm going to call this one export picture. And then I'm going to compare that with another way of exporting pictures like this, which is called a ray trace. You see the ray trace options up here. So if we click ray trace, it'll bring up ray trace current view, which takes where you have your camera now and does a ray trace, which is a higher level processing of how this model looks in 3D. So it gives you a default exterior ray trace, but if we go into the settings, we can change some of the different options. So we can select where we want to save it, as well as the dimensions of the images, or those settings I usually edit is time to ray trace. So you can either set a duration and it'll keep increasing the quality by continually ray tracing the image for 10 minutes, or you can do a certain number of passes. So with each pass, the picture gains more definition and the shadows become clearer and it becomes more detailed. So let's just say for this one we'll do 10 passes. You can change different lighting settings in here and stuff like that. I'm not going to mess with any of that. I'll leave that as the default exterior. So we'll do OK. And now let's click Ray Trace. So what happens is it's going to bring up this checkerboard. It'll start with a completely blank screen. You can see at the bottom this pass and ray trace time. So it's eventually going to go through all these passes. So there's pass one. It looks really low quality, but as these passes keep going on, it's become more in focus, less fuzzy, more and more accurate to what it would look like in real life. Uh, So usually if I was doing this for a project, I would set it up for an infinite amount of time and then leave it to ray trace overnight, and then I could come back in the morning and I would have a really high quality image that I would be able to use after leaving it all night to continually ray trace. So we're on our last pass here on pass 9. You can see how it's kept getting more and more detailed. And after it completes pass 10, we'll be able to choose where we want to save this file. So up here at the top, you see this export picture, and we'll save this as export dash ray trace. So now I'm going to go into my files, and we'll look at the differences between these two images. So this is the one by just exporting it as a picture, and it looks just like it does in the program, not terrible, but if we go to the ray trace one, you can see how the building looks much more accurate. There are shadows uh, and stuff like that. So I didn't set up like the sun and the shadows and stuff to look great, and a lot of the textures and stuff don't look perfect because they were just set up quickly as an example, but you can see how this ray trace will create very accurate pictures that you can show to clients or other people that want to see your design to see very impressive images. I will show you a little bit about doing interior ray traces. So if we move the camera inside, a couple of things. You want to make sure you definitely have lights on the inside, because if you do a ray trace without lights, it will not show anything. It'll just be completely dark, like it would be normally, and the only light that you have will come from windows. So in this view, you can see there's like an artificial brightness to it, just so you could see inside. But if there are no lights and you do a ray trace, you will not actually be able to see anything. So that's one problem you may run into with interior ray traces. But other than that, you go through pretty much the same exact process as before. So those are the two main ways of exporting for plans and for pictures that you'll be using with Chief Architect, and that will conclude this tutorial.